this is Glover Teixeira, UFC light heavyweight champion.
Hi, I'm Robbie Lawler.
What's up, fight family? This is your favorite MMA coach, Thiago Alves, the Pitbull.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Pedro Munoz.
This is Mike Brown.
Guys, I am Alexei Aleniak, and welcome.
And welcome.
And welcome.
And welcome.
And this is wewantpicks.
And you're watching We Want Picks.
To wewantpicks.
We want picks.
To We Want Picks.
To wewantpicks. Hi everybody from American Top Picks.
My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. And let's talk about UFC 270. What a blast that card was. On paper, wasn't the greatest card, but people showed up. Couple massive underdogs won. We're going to talk through our full card parlay. We're going to talk about the fights, and we're going to find out who wins our weekly DraftKings giveaway. If you want some free money, go to wewantpicks.com/bet. We have 5 different betting partners. Sign up with any one of them or all of them. Make a deposit. Let me know, and I'll send you $50 for every single one that you sign up with. We don't have any fights next week, but there's plenty of playoff football to bet on. wewantpicks.com/bets. Any one of those 5 betting partners, sign up, make a deposit, let me know. I'll send you $50. Let's talk about our full card parlay. So, if you don't know, every single Saturday before the fights, I go live and I talk to you in the live chat. You guys give me your picks, not mine, your picks, and I build a full card parlay with it. I throw $10 at it, and if it hits, all of the money goes to the members of this channel. So if you want to qualify for our weekly full card parlay giveaway, make sure you click the join button under this video. Let's take a look. Not great. Not great. You guys, your picks were not fantastic, guys. So it was a $10 parlay. It would have paid out $1,700. So that would have been some nice free money to divvy up with the members. We'll walk it from the bottom to the top. Jack Maddalena hit. Vanessa Demopoulos hit. Ronnie Barsolos missed. And I think the only person that picked Victor Henry was Jacob on this channel. The live chat was pretty clear they wanted Hani to win. Michel to hit. Genaro Valdez, man, that was a disappointing one. That obviously missed. Hansen missed. I was all over Jasmine, Jazza Delicious, so oh well. Tony Gravely hit. Saeed Nurmagomedov hit. Trevin Giles lost. Brandon Moreno lost. Francis Ngannou lost. So this week's parlay did not hit, but make sure you become a member. Click the join button under this video. It qualifies you for these payouts. One of these will hit, and the payout's going to be massive. It also qualifies you for our $50 DraftKings giveaway every single week. Join button under this video. And let's talk about the fights. The first fight of the night was Jasmine, Jazza Delicious versus Hansen. A lot of you guys were pretty split on this, but it was pretty clear that Jasmine was the better wrestler, has phenomenal hips, and that was the breakdown. I kept talking about her hips to the point where it was getting creepy. I just kept saying she has such fantastic hips. She will win the scrambles. And that's what we saw. She won the scrambles. She's super long. She stayed nice and active. Hansen's tough, strong. But once those scrambles happened, Jasmine was winning those scrambles. The hips were the differentiator in that fight. I've wrestled my whole life, and if I've learned anything, it's that hips, high hips wins. Hips will determine scrambles, and you have 2 grapplers like this. It was a good fight. It was a close fight. Hopefully Hansen gets another. This is 2 losses in a row, but she is pretty entertaining, and honestly, she needs to drop weight. She was up weight here. She needs to go back down. I guess she had an eating disorder, which is why she went up in weight, but there's got to be a way to get with a sports psychologist and nutritionist and figure out a healthy way to keep your weight down, because she is a bully-style grappler, and she's not going to be able to bully the women at this weight class. That was pretty evident last night, but Jasmine, Jazza Delicious, great outing, looked fantastic, very accomplished wrestler, so we'll see what happens to her in the future. The next fight was Vanessa Demopoulos versus Silvana Gómez Suarez, and this was an interesting one. Jacob was all over Vanessa Demopoulos. He had like 5-unit money line bet on her, and it was dicey because if you didn't watch the fight, Silvana Gómez dropped Vanessa Demopoulos, dropped her, like straight down dropped her. Then she jumped on top, crowded, tried to get a finish. Vanessa scooped up an armbar, and that was the end of that. It was interesting. She's only a brown belt. I say only, obviously that's an accomplishment in and of itself, but she's a brown belt and she still looks fantastic on the ground. You would think she was an incredible black belt, the way she snatched that up, controlled, rotated her hips. I mean, she looked fantastic. Silvana Gómez Suarez, she's got real power. This is 2 submissions in a row. If she can figure out, A, how to keep it standing, or B, how to avoid some of those submissions, she can be a threat, because at this weight class, to have that kind of power is impressive. I mean, she dropped her, straight up dropped her. That is incredibly impressive. So Silvana Gómez, it's 2 losses in a row, her first 2 UFC fights. Let's see what happens. Vanessa Demopoulos does need to work on her wrestling, though. Her striking didn't look that bad. Obviously, she was dropped, so that sounds ridiculous, but her striking technically wasn't that bad, but she does not have offensive takedowns. She needs to get those takedowns buttoned up so that she can get the fight to the ground whenever she wants. Pretty good fight. First 2 fights of the night were pretty entertaining. Then we moved on to Matt Fravola versus Genaro Valdez. I went 8-3 on picks. This was one of the 3. I liked Genaro Valdez. I thought he had power in his hands, and I thought he would be a much more aggressive grappler. And there wasn't much grappling in this fight at all. And if there's any takeaway, it's Matt Fravola is very aggressive. And I knew he set a really good pace, but he just kept coming with the hands. And Genaro Valdez, oh my God, is that dude tough? I think he was dropped 5 times. At least the commentators were saying he was dropped 5 times. I think DraftKings officially scored 4 dropped, which is 10 points each, 40 points. So Genaro Valdez, let's give him another crack. Let's see what he looks like. He is very talented. I think he just caught a bad punch early, and then after that it was survival mode, but insane survival mode. He's on Brandon Moreno's team. So was Silvana Gómez Juárez, I believe. And they were 0-2. Brandon Moreno's team was 0-2 opening up the card. As soon as I saw that, I don't know if you follow our Twitter, but you should. As soon as I saw that, I tweeted, Brandon Moreno's teammates are 0-2 in the first round. I'm putting money on Davis and Figueiredo. So I put a unit on Davis and Figueiredo at plus 170. We'll talk about that fight in a minute. I've been managing fighters for a very long time. That matters. The whole teammate dynamic matters. The locker room matters. If you're in a shared locker room and everybody's losing and they're coming back to press, the energy is killed in that locker room. And if you're sharing a locker room with your teammates and 2 of them went out there and got smoked, that affects you. It does. And I'm not going to say that's why Brandon Moreno lost, but I saw that. I'm like, this is not good energy. Things are not going well in that locker room. So I did throw that up. So Genaro Valdez, if he did anything for me, it's won me some money on the co-main event. Tony Gravely, Simon Oliveira. This is exactly how we thought this would go down. 0 surprises here. Tony Gravely would nonstop grapple. Simon Oliveira would have some close submissions. I had a tiny little bet on Simon Oliveira by submission just because Tony Gravely has 7 losses. 6 of them were by submission, and Simon Oliveira has 16 wins. 11 of them were by submission. So I just put a tiny little bet on Simon Oliveira to win by submission. It didn't hit, but I didn't necessarily expect it to. But I did have Tony Gravely in my DraftKings lineup, so he scored 1,000,000 points. He looked good last night. He looked good. His takedowns were on point. He ground and pounded as usual on top. He looked good. Now, Simon Oliveira, he had a really close guillotine early, and then after that, he was literally just like jumping to guillotine. It wasn't close on that point. The dude has to work on more submissions or stop looking for that guillotine, because you're just going to end up on your back, end up defending from there, and it's not going to be great. But anyway, Tony Gravely, or Gravely, which threw me off when the announcers were saying that, Tony looked good, and he's going to score you every time he's in DraftKings and on a card. I will pick him because he's going to score 1,000,000 points. He's just going to shoot takedown after takedown after takedown, get on top, and as long as he doesn't get, TKO'd or submitted, he's going to score well for you. Jack Della Maddalena versus Pete Rodriguez. There were 0 surprises in this fight. 0. Then we had Jack Della Maddalena versus Pete Rodriguez. No surprises here. I mean, Jacob felt like Pete Rodriguez could pull it off. And frankly, the dude had power and he was on point for a few minutes. But what was the read? I mean, the guy he does have raw power. He's definitely undersized for this division, but he took it on short notice. He was very composed for a guy with 4 fights, but he only has 4 fights. He only has 4 fights. That is not enough experience, especially when you're fighting somebody, yes, also making his official UFC debut, but with real world experience and a bunch of fights under his belt. So Jack Della Maddalena, he's honestly similar to Sean Strickland. He's got a nasty jab. It's constantly out there. And there's a lot of power on these very small punches. He has deceiving power. He lit up Pete Rodriguez's face, and he didn't throw anything at 100%. He lit him up with a jab, 1-2, 1-2, and just lit him up. Look at Pete's face in this picture. He eventually got the TKO. I had a bet on Pete Rodriguez to win by KO, TKO. And it's funny because when I checked at the end of the night, how'd I do? I noticed I had 2 bets. I was like, what did I do here? So 2 times throughout the week, I must have forgot I placed it the first time. 2 different times throughout the week, I used BetUS for this bet. I went and I placed Jack Maddalena to win by KO, TKO. So that worked out because I ended up with 2 units on it when I only intended to do 1. So Jack Maddalena looks legit. I'm looking forward to see what happens to him next. The problem with Pete Rodriguez is he looked good, but he needs time to grow. And he's only got 4 fights, and now he's in the UFC, so they're not going to cut him. So now every fight this guy has is going to be really tough, and he's not going to have room to grow. It is almost like the Mickey Gall effect. He came into the UFC too early, didn't really have the time to grow the way he should have, hit a bunch of bumps in the road, and now finally he seems to be putting it together. But it's many years and a bunch of losses later where if he stayed regional and worked his way up the more traditional way, you know, he would make a bigger splash in the UFC. So Pete Rodriguez honestly looked pretty good last night. His striking was on point, looked like he had some power, was very composed. He just needs more experience, and we'll see what happens. We'll see if the UFC's like, listen, man, you can stay here because we appreciate what you did and you came out and you fought, or you can go back, get some more experience, and as soon as you're ready, we'll bring you back up. I think that's what he should do. If I'm his manager, I would say, I know it's nice to be in the UFC and it means something to be in the UFC, but you don't have enough fights. Let's get some more experience. Let's crush some people on the local scene, go to some different, promotions that have a UFC clause, and then we can pop right back up after a few fights. So that's how I feel. Let me know in the comments what you think about that. But Jack Maddalena looked fantastic last night. Victor Henry versus Hani Barsolos. I think Victor Henry was the biggest underdog on the entire card, and he looked fantastic. Jacob picked Victor Henry to win, and Jacob's breakdown was Hani Barsolos should win. I think he probably wins, but I'm going to pick Victor Henry because there's just something about it. And then when we did the pre-fight live stream, we talked about, all of us, me in the live chat, we talked about how Victor Henry does have that Chris Curtis potential because unlike Pete Rodriguez, who we just talked about, who only had 4 fights, Victor Henry had like 26 fights. It's like 21-5. So he had some real experience here, and he's a very good striker. So he could come in here and pull a Chris Curtis, and he basically did. So Hani Barsolos is unbelievably talented. I think a lot of those striking exchanges, he won, and he looked great. His takedown attempts were a little weak, but when he got them, he looked good. Hani Barsolos, really well-rounded. The difference in this fight was he cut up early, and that is not a good look for the judges. And Victor Henry's feet never stayed in the same space. He was constantly moving, constantly throwing, moving. If you break down some of his fights, he never really had such clean movement before. So he looked amazing. I'm very excited to see what Victor Henry does going forward. The guy looked great, looked sharp, landed when he needed to. And I don't think this takes anything away from Hani Barsolos because I would not say that Hani looked bad. I would say that Victor looked amazing. Hani Barsolos is still incredibly well-rounded. And I'm looking forward to see both of these guys' next matchups because let me know if you think I'm wrong. I don't think this takes anything away from Hani, and I just think this shows the world how good Victor actually is. So great job for Victor Henry. Looking forward to both of their next fights. We have Michael Morales' official debut against Trevin Giles. This was expected and unexpected. I thought Michael Morales would win, right? The dude is a national wrestling champion, a national Muay Thai champion. I didn't think he'd win by knockout this early. I thought it would be, I just thought he'd be one step ahead of Trevin, win the wrestling exchanges, win some of the striking exchanges. But Trevin is so stupid athletic with that crazy jab that I thought he could give Michael some trouble. So Michael was the pick, but I definitely thought that Trevin could give him some trouble, and he did not. Michael Morales burst onto the scene, let everybody know how good he is. This was at welterweight. It is important to note that Trevin Giles was a middleweight, moved down the welterweight for this fight. That could have affected his chin, right? You suck some weight, your chin isn't the same. But, I mean, I am very much looking forward to Michael Morales' next fight. I think they should give him a small step up. What I hate that the UFC does sometimes is, ooh, we have a superstar here, and then immediately Matt gives him, like, they're going to give him Michel Pereira, something like that, right? No, absolutely not. I think Michael Morales can absolutely be something. What is he now? Like 12-0 with 12 first round stoppages or something crazy like that. So I think let's give him a smaller incremental, improvements in opponents, and let's see what happens. Let's start to test him a little bit. He looked amazing. I'm looking forward to it. Trevin Giles, 2 knockouts in a row. He may get cut. They may give him another young up-and-comer just to, use as a measuring stick. But, Trevin Giles was never really exciting. He snuck some wins out, like against Roman Dolidze, that maybe he shouldn't have. But he is athletic. He has been here a while. I imagine he's got another fight in him. But Michael Morales, impressive as hell. Maybe the most impressive fight on the card, or at least debut fighter for sure. Said Nurmagomedov versus Cody Stamann. I mentioned I went 8-3 last night. This was one of the 3. I thought Cody Stamann could stay in his face, get some takedowns. Said Nurmagomedov coming after a year-long layoff. I knew he had nasty takedown defense. If you looked at the stats that we showed, it was 71%, which is solid, very solid. But I just thought Cody could stay in his face. He was also a lifelong boxer. I thought he could avoid some of the power, stay in his face, get some takedowns, grind him out. And there wasn't enough on the feet to really, to really knock the guy. But Said looked amazing on his feet the short time he was there. And then Cody takes a shot, didn't run his body to the other side, and ends up getting a power guillotine. You don't see those too often. A power guillotine, if you don't know, it's basically a rear naked choke in the front. So you're under the neck and you're over the head with this hand and just pushing the head down, pulling up, and it's power guillotine. And Said's super long arms just made that so easy for him. He snuck it in there, bang, solid pressure. Let's see what happens with Said Nurmagomedov next. I think Cody Stamann's probably going to get cut. I mean, it was too one-sided of a loss. He did come out there. He did try to make it a fight, as he does every single time he goes out there. But he's not in a great spot contractually right now at all. So he'll probably get cut coming off a few losses in a row and just a stoppage that quickly. But, that was a tough one for me. I thought Cody was going to win. I didn't bet him, but I did think he was going to win. I thought for sure he could be able to grind, get some takedowns, especially after Nurmagomedov's year-long layoff. But bad read. Michel Pereira versus Andre Fialho. This was a great fight. It was exactly what I thought it would be, right? That Michel Pereira's super athletic, got power, crazy. But Andre Fialho has a chin and power. And that first round, Andre Fialho looked fantastic. Michel Pereira seemed tentative. It seemed like he got hit and didn't like it. Like, oh boy, there's some power over here. And, seemed a bit tentative, seemed to try to stay away. Definitely gave up that first round. Second round, started to pour it on. You see this awesome picture here. He's doing the showtime, jumping off the cage and throwing a couple punches there. He had a couple flips and swirls, and when he started to fall into his crazy rhythm is when he started to get some stuff done. So it was a really, really good fight, and it was good for Michel Pereira because now he's 3 decisions in a row, and it's good for him to win those fights because, as he gets more confident that, okay, I'm not going to gas. Okay, I don't need to, be 100% every second of the fight. I can conserve energy, burst when I need to, because they say he's only 28 years old. It's hard to believe looking at him. But, Andre Fialho, the read on him when we broke him down was he has power in his hands, a ridiculous chin, but he only throws 1 strike at a time. That was pretty much it. He had a couple solid kicks, solid jab. First round, he looked good, and then he really just started to slow down and started to get beat up there. But, Michel Pereira got the second biggest pop from the crowd after Brandon Moreno. Brandon Moreno was clearly the crowd favorite. Michel Pereira was next, and he's Brazilian. He's not even Spanish, and the crowd was majority Spanish. So, the UFC knows they love him. They know what he is. They know who he is, and he's another guy where it's like, let's get him another win. Let's get him 2 more wins, and then maybe he could vie for a title. And he is the type of guy that they absolutely 100% want to be champion. So Michel Pereira looked fantastic. Let's see what happens with him. I'm looking forward to his next fight. Andre Fialho, give him another striker, and you'll have fireworks. Co-main event of the evening, Deiveson Figueiredo beats Brandon Moreno in their trilogy. I was pretty high on Deiveson this week. I opened 2 weeks ago breaking this down saying I think Brandon Moreno wins. His cardio, his pace, all of that is incredible. And then I got to look at Deiveson's Instagram, and he looked fantastic. His weight was down. He looked great. He looked like he wasn't going to have to cut big. And that was his biggest issue in the last fight, was he just wasn't himself. He looked like he cut way too much weight. Manel Kopp did an interview saying that Deiveson was even hospitalized leading up to that fight. So seeing his Instagram, seeing some of the footage, then seeing him at weigh-ins, he looked great. He jogged to the scale, didn't look too sucked out. I was like, Deiveson's going to win this fight because, in my opinion, Deiveson's the better fighter. He's the better fighter. He's got more power in his hands. I think he's a cleaner striker. The wrestling is pretty even, and he's got the more dangerous grappling, even though Brandon Moreno can grapple. The cardio was always the issue. I thought he fixed the cardio, so I loved Deiveson to win this fight. And then I went ahead and I put a moneyline bet on him at plus 170. Literally after I watched 2 of Brandon Moreno's teammates get smoked, I was like, you know what? I'm in. I'm in on Deiveson Figueiredo. So I tweeted that out. Hopefully you saw that. Good fight, though. Good fight. And I would not have been surprised if the decision went the other way. I was watching with Jacob. Jacob said, I think Jacob's read was, I think Brandon Moreno won this fight, but they're going to give the decision to Figueiredo. I actually thought the exact opposite. I was like, I think Figueiredo won, but they're going to give the decision to Brandon. Either way, it was a very good fight. I don't think it was a bad decision. And if it went the other way, I wouldn't think that was a bad decision either. But Deiveson definitely did more damage. There was a few times where he looked like he was hurt, but those leg kicks were messing up Brandon Moreno. He was attempting those takedowns, and he dropped. Did he drop Brandon Moreno or cracked him really good a few times? So it was a really good, fun fight. They're talking about a 4th, and I guess you could do a 4th. The problem is the division has to move on. It cannot be only these 2 guys fighting each other nonstop for years. Just them, a 4th in Mexico. It would just honestly give them each another fight, and then they can meet again, right? Because what happens if Moreno wins the 4th time? You do it again. Now we have 5. It's just literally these 2 fighting each other every year. It would be entertaining, but I don't think Brandon Moreno loses anything other than the belt, obviously. I think it was very clear that dude has a ton of heart, very clear that he's a giant superstar. It's very clear that he's a talented guy. These guys are neck and neck as far as talent is concerned. I do think Deiveson is more talented if he gets his weight under control. But here's, I think what he should have done better last night is that leg kick was working. He should have gone to that way more often. It was working. He definitely needs to chop down more. Go train with Jose Aldo for a little bit and work in those leg kicks because it was working, and he just didn't capitalize the way that I thought he should have. But that was a really fun fight. I personally don't want to see a 4th, at least not next. Let me know what you guys think. I mean, the crowd seemed to love it, but obviously they were rooting for Moreno. Then we got the main event of the evening. What a fight that was. What a fight that was. I couldn't be happier. So I was pretty high on Francis Ngannou. Last week we did the early breakdown. I picked him to win. Then I mentioned I think Francis Ngannou is the better fighter. I just worry about what's going on in his head with hating the UFC. And you guys skewered me in the comments. You think Francis Ngannou's the better fighter? Yeah, I do. And you guys did not like that read, and well, apologize to me. Great fight. A great fight. If you didn't watch it, first 2 rounds were Ciryl Gane doing what Ciryl Gane does. Dancing around, avoiding the power, touching up Francis Ngannou, and circling out. Worked himself up to a good-sized favorite going into the 3rd round. But you could tell he was nervous about Francis's power. And Francis was just literally like the sparring session, just marching forward, power, marching forward, power. And then the third round, Ciryl Gane got a little fancy, spinning back kick. Francis Ngannou caught it, picked it up, dumped him, dropped him on the ground. Then he stands up, and Francis freaking whizzers Ciryl Gane's face into the mat. And it was like, whoa, the power difference here is huge. Then the next round, Ciryl Gane comes in, they start grappling. Francis gets a takedown, third round takedown. Francis Ngannou wins 3-2 because of the takedowns and the grappling. It was definitely a little surprising. I did fall into the trap. I fell into the trap when he walked out with the knee braces. I was like, he either has a wrestling game plan or he's got an issue. And then the announcers were like, I guess the rumors were true. There was rumors coming from the camp that his knees were a mess. So I was like, holy crap. There was rumors that his knees were a mess. So I immediately threw a bet on Ciryl Gane, which was so stupid of me, because I was rooting for Francis Ngannou the whole time. But it was a great fight. It was a ton of fun. And, the only thing that sucks, if something sucked, the only thing that sucks is, yes, Francis won. It was exciting. I think we were all happy for him. But the dude hates the UFC right now. He hates his contract. And that wasn't necessarily the fight that says, F you world, pay me $10 million. It just wasn't, right? It was a little boring. He was losing the striking exchanges, and he's trying to box Tyson Fury. And it was pretty clear last night, if he boxes Tyson Fury lights him up. Like he was losing the striking exchanges, just straight up losing them. And then he had the grappling just found itself. If Ciryl Gane doesn't throw that spinning kick in the third and Francis doesn't catch it, Ciryl Gane wins the fight. Because literally, I think a bulb went off in Francis's head when he got that. No, it was just raw athleticism, caught the kick, slammed him down. But then Ciryl sort of struggled on the ground, didn't have much to offer at all. At one point, he bent over for a knee bar, which looked so stupid. To the point where they may have heard that Francis has knee issues, because then he tried to heel hook later. It's like, okay. Anyway, I think a bulb went off I can control this guy on the ground. And then that's what ended up happening. Great fight. I'm happy for Francis. I hope he gets the contract he wants. And did you guys see that Dana White did not put the belt around Francis Ngannou and didn't go to the post-fight press conference? A major pay-per-view event, the first one of the year, and he didn't go to the post-fight press conference? That's dirty. You hate your heavyweight champion that much that you won't even go to the post-fight press conference? I thought it was a successful event. I bet they sold a bunch of pay-per-views. The crowd was all the fights were pretty good. It's not like it was a miserable event, 100 decisions, and they all sucked. What's going on? I thought they were pretty good fights. So the only reason he didn't go is he's throwing a temper tantrum because he's pissed that Francis Ngannou won. And all that did was give Francis Ngannou the narrative he needed. Because what did he do in the post-fight press conference? Talk about how unhappy he is with his contract. So you guys let me know in the comments what you thought about that. That just seemed so trash to me. Just trash. How do you not do the post-fight press conference? How do you not? And if you hate Francis, go to the post-fight press conference and say that was boring, pathetic, losing the strike exchanges, go to grappling, slow, blah, blah, blah. Do that, even though I disagree, but he just didn't go. Anyway, guys, those are the fight breakdowns. Let's talk about our free DraftKings League and who won our weekly giveaway. We have a nice little twist this week, which is pretty funny. Let's hop into that. If you don't know, we have a free DraftKings League. Costs $0 for you to enter the league or enter any of the contests that we do every single week. And if you win the contest, I send you $50, but you have to be a member of this channel to get that $50. Our winner, Casey J03. Casey is my wife's cousin. He comes over for all the fights. He was with us in my media room watching the fights last night, showing me his lineup. I'm going to win. You better send me the $50. And I was like, hey, dingus, you're not a member. You're not getting $50 from me. Bro, you're not a member. You have to be a member. Why would I send you $50? You're not a member of the channel. So Casey got to watch his real life reaction to winning the league with a freaking killer lineup and not get paid. And that's his fault. If you don't want to make that same mistake, click the join button under this video so that our next breakdown, our next event, if you win the league, I'll send you $50 and just straight up $50 as a congratulations. I'll break down his lineup in a second. The second piece of this, which is really funny, is I have 2 leagues. I have this one for you guys that I can give away the money and you can compete with each other. And then I have a friends one where Jacob's in it, Nick Newell is in it, a bunch of my friends, including Casey. The lineup Casey put in the friends league was trash, absolute trash. Should have used this one. He would have won a bunch of money, but he didn't. So we have Divas and Figueiredo, Michael Morales, Tony Gravely, Victor Henry, Michel Pereira, and Jack Della Maddalena. The Victor Henry get was nice for him. Look at this. Every single fighter except Michel Pereira scored over 100 points. This dude almost snuck out 700 points, which would have been absolutely incredible. Tony Gravely, 128 points. Those takedowns, 11 takedowns. 11 takedowns. Tony Gravely was an all-star in most people's lineups. Figueiredo, 110, fantastic. Morales, 117 for that first round stoppage. Victor Henry, this is a ton of points considering he just won by a decision and there were no takedowns. This is a ton of points. A ton. Sorry, 113. A ton. No takedowns? That's just a lot of strikes and a little bit of control time there. And then Michel Pereira only scored 80, which is surprising for him, but he did look good. And then Jack Maddalena, 117 for the first round stoppage. Casey, you messed up, my dude. Become a member. Everybody else, become a member. Support us. Qualify yourself for all these payouts. Let's take a look at second place. Another really good lineup. Also 6 for 6. The difference is he had Demopoulos, who scored under 100, and Gane, who won but scored under 100. And that's the difference between getting second place and first place, because all of the other fighters were exactly the same. Guys, do all the things. Like, subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you felt about this card. And we'll see you. We have an off week. We'll still do a breakdown. And then we'll see you in 2 weeks for the next UFC event. See you then.